Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the radio guy, Dr. Mike. Friends, we have a special edition. You all know that from time to time I try to be an advocate for sports information directors, in particular in the world of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I've been fortunate enough to join us on the line right now is Mr. Ryan Mcginty. Ryan, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing, Mike?
I dare not complain, man. Look, it's that time of the year where the world started getting blurred in the world of athletics, soccer, volleyball coming to its apex, football coming toward an end, and basketball about to start off, and all the fall sports are blending in, and the spring sports starting to work up. And lo and behold, the more you ask, the less you have to work with when it comes to the world of SIDs, in particular in our landfill.
Well, that's why you sign up for the job, I guess. Especially if you had a great internship/assistantship to where you know what to expect. And then when it's time for you to get in that head seat, you shouldn't complain because you was taught right. You know what I mean? It's like you jumping on the radio and then come to find out, the prep work behind it. Yes, everyone sees the games, and that's great. But, the prepping before you get to the chaos, as I like to call it, we have all these events going on, is just as important. So I tell people, it's what you sign up for. You know it's coming. The good thing about it, you get the schedules months in advance. So you know it's coming down the pike. It's how you prepare and execute your plan that's the best way for it.
Well, people, they hear the term SID, Sports Information Director, and think you all even changing your title these days. What all is involved when it comes to SID? What does an SID do?
Well, ironically, I'm glad you said that because, I got some great news I can share, hopefully in a month. When all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, I will have a full staff. And, I'm going from 0 to a decent number, you know what I mean, which is more than one. And so that's a blessing, especially being in this business this long. I've only had, in some stops, only one person to report to, or I was one person I reported to somebody. But to have multiple people in this day and age is a blessing. But when you mentioned how the role has changed, I'll be honest with you, that's some of the questions I'm asking the people I'm interviewing right now, straight up. When I first started, we did the stats at the game, and pretty much if it was a situation where I got in when email was kind of already somewhat in and faxing, so I missed the old school days of a telefax or whatever that was called. You probably would know more than I would. But yeah, pretty
was
much.
That a shot at me, man? Was that a shot?
No,
at me?
I'm just saying you started a little earlier than me, so like I'll be honest with you, like this is what Stefan Robinson or Harlan Robinson, the guy that brought me in the business, told me. They would go to the game and they would have to do a fax machine, and they say when it was fax, it was something about the smell of the ink or something like that, or something to get the data across. So I missed that by a few years. So I tell them every time, I'm sorry I wasn't there when it happened. I was around when I could at least send an email to some address or whatever. We still fax. By then they had broadcast faxing then. So, but I mean, it's changed so much. I'll be honest with you, Mike.
Well, look, you brought up that faxing. I've always been fascinated. I think that's one of the greatest inventions ever made. How you can simply write a note and then within moments it's transmitted to someone miles away in your handwriting. I still am fascinated by that today, although only lawyers, doctors, and the government use it. I think that is something. If there's a way I could work that back into my daily format, I definitely would.
Well, it's funny you say that because our copy machine still does have a fax option. And it's funny, you'll get a fax come through, you hear a different sound, like, what is that? The old days, you hear that fax come through that machine, you almost treated it like it was Christmas time. You remember
Yes,
something. And I can say it from personal experience. At Prairie View, when I was there, it was the best time of the year to be around a fax machine. Well, I'll give it 2 times. obviously the first time was National Signing Day when letter of intent came through the fax. But, that's no longer valid no more because letter of intents don't exist as of this year.
Right.
And also, when it was time, when word would get out that a coach was replaced, man, you would be at the fax machine to see all the people just sending random resumes in. And I would, oh, man, so-and-so sent a resume. You all excited and stuff. Like, oh, man, this is big time, and everything. And so I get a kick out of it. It was a great invention because, people weren't emailing stuff. So you got to see all that was coming through. Now, you go straight to the person they trying to contact now. So they took little old nosy me out of it, unfortunately.
I know. You talking about real time, getting it right hot off the press, going on the days. Look, let me go back toward the future. I'm already called a relic in this game, but I'm a relic that's enjoying themselves. When you're talking about what you're doing, you have to keep up with the stats, and you had to have some writing skill for some blurb reports or whatnot. But the game has changed from gradual to drastic nowadays, huh?
Yes, because in addition to being a good writer, which is still the basis of this whole thing, you better know how to do Photoshop. You better know how to do some basic video editing. I mean, I'm not going to try to produce a Steven Spielberg or Spike Lee movie, but you better know how to cut up a 1 minute and 30-second interview. Well, let me go back. You better know how to film one first, then to transfer it to be cut up. And if you got to have highlights on top of that, you better know how to do that. And so now you're like, I guess the best I can describe it, if you are a small market news reporter where you have to do everything, film, write your copy, and then dictate it on the broadcast, that's what we are, plus more, But, we're the stat takers. If you're not at a place where I can hire stat people, you're that. So, I mean, another time, and so you have to sometimes prioritize. Like, I can give you a quick example. Yesterday, we had a women's basketball home opener. Came down the wire, didn't like the way it ended, but nothing you can do about that. But, I got to work. The game was at 4. I got to work in the early afternoon to set up and stuff, and I thought I had a chance to go get some lunch, right? Oh, no, I get a call, and we need to look in. I have to make sure, the radio side, because they brought radio, the opposing team, we had to get the table set up. That took an hour. We were trying to troubleshoot how to put internet to a scores table. All right, you think you got that done? I'm about to go to lunch now, right? You look up, Mike. Next thing you know, oh, man, let me go set up this live stream. But we got a different workflow because we got to institute replay in-house. So we're trying to set all that up. And it's just so many things that go in it. I haven't got to the SID part, have I? I'm trying to help you out, B. Have I discussed it? I'm just saying that's just some of the things we have taken on, and I embrace it because it makes you a better person. I'll be honest with you. From that, it makes you a much better person. It makes you versatile, and you can do things. When I was at the MEAC office, and I was told in August 1st that we need to learn and transition 9 schools to ESPN Plus, to a standard platform after everyone's doing what they want. Yeah, you sitting there like this ain't. But what I learned in those 3-4 months of executing that has made my transition, at TSU much easier when it comes to learning new things because, if you got 2 hands and you got a brain, you should be able to execute anything. I'll be honest with you.
Right. Well, you talked about the influx of ESPN Plus. How or has it any way directly or indirectly affect what you do as a sports information director?
No, you just treat it as another TV entity that's covering the game. I mean, ironically, this last few years now, we've had every football game broadcasted through some platform. So you pretty much know if ESPN, HBCU Go, or SWAC Digital Network's coming in, you try to get all that situated on the front end ASAP. You get your announcer squared away. You try to have all that form so when they come in and ask any questions, you can hear. You know what I mean? You don't want them asking you questions day at a game for something basic you should have done days in advance. We get the TV schedule July 15th, 16th. So 9 times out of 10 who was coming to your campus. And, there's some little intricate things that varies each stadium in terms of when you involve replays and angles, you got to make sure everyone's hooked up with the right person. But you pretty much know now if we're not doing it with those, we're live streaming in the house. So basically we're a de facto TV producer also. So that's part of it. That's part of the thing of the job we learned. Now you got other avenues now, automated cameras that follow and track athletes, while the game is going on. Those are hit or miss, I'll be honest with you. But, you better know more than just the basics now. And I tell that to any youngster that's coming in this business. If you don't take advantage of your knowledge of where you are age-wise technology, shame on you, because like I know, when we was coming up, the newspaper was always sources, correct?
Yes.
Radio was another. TV was another. That was it. If I didn't know what time the game, who won the game until the channel whatever would tell me, or whatever. Now you got access at the whatever, the moment's notice. So that's why I try to instill to my son. I say, Miles, you should be just as smart as me. I don't know if you will, because you only got 50% of me. But you should be, when it comes to certain things, you should be dead on. And I think crazy part, he has it in some of those avenues. Because you're at the games, you're seeing stuff. That stuff I didn't have access to as a kid, just because of technology.
Right. And with the technology, it evolves. And as we evolve in technology, it somewhat makes people a bit lazier, too. They have a tendency not to be as thorough, fact-checking, things of that nature. How do you compensate for that? And you sound like you have to be very well organized. Or any particular tools that you found to be successful for you to stay ahead of the game?
You rely on a lot of things. I'm with you. Relationships, one. Second, you just got to have a nose to see what's in and out, because now with social media, people can say anything. And, a lot of times, anger will make you say things you don't need to say. So you try to chalk it up to that. But you got to thoroughly investigate as much as you can now. I'll be honest with you. When it comes to that, because like you said, with this AI now that's coming into play, that's a whole other animal people don't understand. I can be on a platform, Mike, and say create a panther and a tiger fighting, you know what I mean, or whatever, and it may generate some type of video or whatever, and people share it on social media, and people believe that kind of stuff, or whatever, and so it's kind of like you got to have a sixth sense. And you got to trust what you've been taught at the same time also. And I think that's the best way to avoid certain situations which can take you down on the job.
Right. With everything that has evolved, you've been effectively doing this, 20-plus years now?
2000, if you count my newspaper experience, 2002. Yes, fall of
22 years.
Yes, sir. I know. Time goes slow.
It goes slow, especially if you're not having fun, though, right? But with the time that has changed and all the new technology, someone fresh trying to get into the game, because everyone wants to gravitate to the big sports, but there's so many opportunities that are laying literally on the ground. What advice would you give a person that they should be obviously aware of, subconsciously aware of, and to avoid if at all possible?
Well, I'll say the obvious thing. If you're trying to get in this business, use this number right here. And I'm speaking for college only. I'm not going to use pro because that's a whole different animal, and high school, which is a different type situation anyway. But for college, remember this. Remember these numbers, and anyone that understands numbers would understand this. You have 11 football games, right? 4 or 5 may be at home. That's only 4 or 5. That's only 4 or 5 weeks you may have to get stuff. Basketball, this a time of year you got a certain term for it. I won't repeat it. But
I call it the fundraising season.
Right. So
yes, sir.
When you're out fundraising a lot of places, you don't fundraise at home. So you get out on the road. So I'll just use for SWAC. That's 18 opportunities, men and women at home, from basically January to March. It's 18, right? And that's about 4 football games. That's 22. All right, next you have volleyball. Same amount. You'll have formats have changed so much. I don't want to give you an inaccurate number, but let's just kind of average. You'll have 10 opportunities in volleyball. You'll have maybe 6 in soccer or whatever. When you get to baseball and softball, baseball, on average we play 50 games, maybe 30-something in softball. Out of those 50, you may have 25 games in baseball at home. In softball, you may have 15. So for me to say that is, look at the sports in the spring where you got plenty of opportunities, and even in some of the fall sports. Don't focus on the big stuff because everyone is trying to cover the same stories. There are other sports, other stories that can come out of those sports and can go much faster because you have more people. You have 100 people on a football team, but not all of them are playing at the same time. But you have 11 soccer players and about 20 playing. You have about 10 volleyball players. Track and field, you have 60 folks between both teams. And baseball, you got, 35, 40? And so look at all the stories out there. Get to know the situation you're at and just make the best of it. I know everybody wants to be on, the ESPNs and all that. But in this day and age now, just imagine you, Mike, when you was in school, you was at Prairie View, and you had an opportunity to create your own network at 18, 19, covering Prairie View stuff. Even though you were a student athlete, just to access the content you had then, that's not there now. You can't even archive it now because you couldn't. So I tell folks, take advantage of your environment, but look at all sports as equal. There's no one sport better than the other. I don't know why people assume that, because you got 30 opportunities to cover baseball and softball and 4 for football. What's going to make you better?
Right.
We can leave it like that.
Right. Well, look, man, I appreciate, I know this is a busy time of year for you guys, but I've always tried to be an advocate for SIDs to speak out and be heard. And, you guys are hard to get on the mic. So I appreciate you being bold enough to, I guess, be dubbed as somewhat of a spokesman for the SWAC SIDs. At least I'm giving you that title for this interview.
No.
So I want to give you an opportunity, man, as we get ready to close this out, to give some closing thoughts or share anything that you would want at this time.
Well, this is what's the song say? The most wonderful time of the year. It is. I mean, you have a lot going on, and it helps when you win. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, because we've won cross country this year, we've won soccer, cross country on the men's side, and so those sports start in August. To see the joy on the student athlete's faces when they win, and you feel like you played a small part. Just I'm out there just putting music on or whatever, and if you just interact with them, and I don't call a single play or nothing like that. But to see them win, I feel like I won to a certain extent also. And so I think I get a joy in watching other people succeed. And in this business, I think that's how you got to approach it. You're not going to win everything. You and me personally have seen some streaks that probably will never be done again.
Right, right. Just a simple scheduling flaw, right?
Yeah. I was there when it ended. I was there when it turned around. And that's the greatest feeling in the world. And I had the same situation when I coached my son's team this summer. We got to the final, and you just see all the hard work. So to tell anyone that's young or even that's older want to come in this business, jump in head first, be willing to learn, be willing to adapt. And, you got to have some basic skills. And I tell people, right, not RIGHT, WRITE, right. Don't rely on the internet, the phone, Grammarly, all those apps to tell you how to write. Learn how to write because that's still the basics. I know that you can do emails and Outlook will do it for you, unfortunately. But I mean, you got to learn the basics. I tell, like, look, I don't know how you did your kids, Mike, but on Mondays I tell them now write each word 5 times. Why? You gonna tell me? Because that's like it improves your handwriting. You get better, you practice, and so practice craft, and you know.
Well, I tell you what, with my kids, my nieces and nephews, they used to all come to us for the summer, and we had a deal where they had to do book reports. They had to do written and oral book reports about anything they wanted to daily. And they was like, well, Uncle Mike or Pop, why are we having to do this? I said, A, it's going to keep you conscious of what's going on around you. It's going to work on your writing skills. It's going to work on your reciting skills, public speaking, and all these things. And now that they're older, they appreciate it. And those are the basics. I call you guys the unsung heroes. And I appreciate you for your dedication to the conference, your dedication to the games, to the student athletes, and for being one of those low barriers, man, that don't get the prime light, the spotlight, but the first ones are called out if stuff don't line up the way people think it should line up.
Well, that's life, and I'm glad you mentioned book reports. I knew it was something I forgot to do to tell him, my son. We're going to go back to book reports. Summarizing a story, a book, and like you said, reciting it. And you know what I mean? Man, I'm glad. See, that's why you talk to people and you learn. yeah, because I knew it was something. I say, because a lot of times we have them read a book, but I don't know, because I'll be honest, sometimes my wife handles the homework more than me. And I don't know what he's doing with the book once he's done reading it. But
right.
Yeah, workload's about to increase now.
Oh, my. Well, look, tell your kids you thought of it on yourself.
Yeah, but I appreciate you call it unsung heroes. But, I mean, we're not heroes. We're just here to do a job. And, you know, I'm just glad I got the faith of an athletic director or VP for intercollegiate athletics. Dr. Granger, he provides me with the tools needed to be successful. And the guys I worked under before also, because without them, there wouldn't be me. And without people like you, there wouldn't be us, because who we sharing out the stuff to, right? You know, I remember when you used to come around Prairie View with your tape recorder. I'm going to tell you this, you never heard the story, offline or online. But I have someone say, man, what are you around here chasing stories for? Like, why? And first thing I said, well, that's what reporters are supposed to do. But then he's chasing a story. You may want to know your story. They got real quiet. No one else asked them. No, you're right. So embrace the people that may be around you. They may be annoying in some cases. I'm not saying you were. But, you know what I mean? That's just a reporter's job, you know, persistence. Don't run away. Look, do not run away from it. We try to tell folks we don't have many opportunities to talk publicly, right? And I do not like when people sometimes will come and tell me we can't get coverage, blah, blah, blah. But then when we get coverage, and then I try to hook you up, and this is just going by historically, I'm not going at one place. And then I try to hook you up with somebody, well, I don't want to talk to them. Who can do it? So you want him to tell you your story, or you want you to tell you your story, especially if you're not getting told every day, you know? And right. That's even a lesson for young coaches. Just, you can't run from hard questions. You're not in a federal deposition or whatever, you know? So
you're not about to indict yourself and go to jail, right?
Embrace
well, hey, if you say the wrong thing, you might get fired, but you won't go to jail.
Well, then look, I'll say this. That's where the unsung hero part comes in. If you that uncomfortable that you're going to say something nervous, get with us so we can make sure that you're prepped not to say anything. You know? So, right. But don't turn around the opportunity, because he may go fire someone else that will give him one, and now he likes that person and they are weekly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, Ryan, before we shut it down, let people know how they can listen or check out stuff that you guys are producing at Texas Southern.
Pretty much our website is www.tsusports.com. That's TSU Sports with an S.com, and pretty much that lists the links for everything that's going on. We right now we're live streaming through YouTube. If any event is not taken away by the SWAC Digital Network, HBCU Go, or ESPN. So pretty much between the website will list all the links that you need to find and how to track us down on TSU and all our important phone numbers and stuff from there. And then also our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, which that's another whole conversation about that. But Twitter and Instagram, TXSO Tigers is our handles for Instagram and Twitter. And those, so just follow us on that, and you feel free to contact me personally. You know how to track me down. I have no problem having a conversation and engaging. But I just thank you again for giving me this opportunity to unofficially speak for SID as a conference. It's not,
unofficially.
I'm not the spokesman by no means. You know, he might just happen to call me after 3-4 months of randomness. You know what I mean? To get an SID interview. So.
After 3 or 4 months of being rejected. No.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, we appreciate you being the Open Mic's unofficial spokesman for SIDs. He is Ryan Mcginty of the Texas Southern Tigers. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter X at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and check out our 24-hour streaming content at obnradio.com. I must exit stage left for right now. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.